Stereotype, personal interpretation.
Не понимаю такой момент. Пытаясь представить себе скрулерную систему, я понимаю, что находясь вот в данном
I don't get such issue. I try to imagine screw-alert system. I understand that being in the given mixtum form, I have a feeling of the movement in one scenario. So when I imagine the screw-alert system, I suddenly start to understand that there is the particular choices range for the same stereotype. This range spreads on a lot of scenarios. Besides, specific hormonal reaction corresponds to each of them.
и причем каждому соответствует определенная гормональная реакция. Вопрос вот в чем.
Does this refer to every stereotype, to 328 ones in a second, or to 386 fragments, which we combine conditionally to our configuration at any point in time? What do you mean by the word stereotype? Is this just a personal interpretation? And that's it? The stereotype is that one which is in the screw-alert system center, and 386 other ones come from it. 386 ones come not from it, but towards it, and what comes from it is interconnections with various scenarios. And does the own hormonal spike, that is, some hormonal reaction, correspond to every scenario? Better to say differing reaction. This can be the same hormone, but taken in conjunction with the other hormones. For example, during this process, adrenals secrete some hormone at a certain amount, suppose some corticosteroid. Genital glands secrete something else. Reward centers secrete dopamine. Suppose one center, nucleus accumbens, secretes mostly dopamine. And striatum secretes some other amount of the same dopamine. So, in such situation, discrepancy will be revealed everywhere in configurations. Depending on how many stereotypes at the moment are duplicated by some similar reaction within one configuration, the scenario appears to be mostly the same. Though, actually, there is no separation on scenarios as such. I define scenarios as reaction manifestation, reaction form, reaction type, as an opportunity for something to realize. Scenarios forma shapes are located in the whole information слоагентность, meaning in слоагентность of the whole screw-alert system as such. Our focus dynamic specifics, that is, its structure, its energetics, draws stereotypes particular quantity from слоагентность, which can form, or rather, which have already been formed, while we still only focus on this, a definite configuration of the particular movement, the particular reaction in space-time. The problem is that you think that personalities exist, and this is only because of the fact that you see them materially, you feel them materially. That's the problem. When you turn to the more subtle plane of the perception, personalities break apart. Therefore, scenarios also disintegrate. The only question is what is personal interpretation, what is one stereotype in general, and what is nouveau configuration. Personal interpretation is behavior types, our reactions types, which manifest in diverse space-time regimes. Who then defines the scenario through my DNA? Creators-regulators know all scenarios set. Does this mean they represent all screw-alert system? They don't know. They just resonationally step-by-step react on information. Meaning, they compare the information which has голохронно realized with the information which is at the moment. and they synchronize this. Though the synchronization process starts from our reaction. Let's say there happened synchronization on a certain given scenario, but it takes some time between this information acceptance and our next reaction. 1 second, 2, 3, sometimes more. When we have received some information, we realize it first, and then we react. So, this delay is connected with the interpretation necessity. Because every time the surrounding reality also changes with us. And stereotype spots, stereotype configurations, can create additional imperceptность issues with respect to what has been accepted by creators, regulators. Creators, regulators accept all possible our interactions, our reactions in the near term. Besides, this is not perceived at the level of some displacement in space, whether I have waved with my hand, or spit, or said something, or something else. No, this is perceived at the energy level. And biochemical level is used finally for labeling our transference in space. I move in the armchair right now. This has been labeled by hippocampus. It will be always accessible to look through what I'm telling, these words, and specific moving rights in the space. Though I could tell these words without any movement. Our displacements in space are recorded basically by hippocampus. This information comparison with the information in scroller system in NVK happens at once. And further, creators, regulators accept the next information portion. This is difficult to explain with respect of your materiality attachment, through which only you can do some logical conclusions and analysis. This is like this is like that. In fact, this can energetically look completely differently. The scenario can be structured from every instant. Every instant, energy informational feature. But the activation point is in these scenarios. This activation point of this scenario is inside scroller system and is produced by Vivaxis. This is personal interpretation at the moment, which is occupied with more ampliative or less ampliative realizations in the same scenario. Thus, is the exgiberatsia version of exactly this personal interpretation defined by creators' interpretators at this moment? Yes, exgiberatsia is defined by exactly creators' interpretators. Do creators' regulators define all opportunities range? Creators, regulators define all Lagrange Dandelion of possible realizations versions at the moment on this given particular information. Because at the moment, the other us are in another situation. Maybe we are not here at the colloquium, but somewhere in another continuums group. For example, power is out for some reason there, and we do some other things, and this occurs at the same time, in the same continuum, but in its other group. I still can't put together why the opportunities range is provided for one stereotype in 1/328th of a second. Because there is no a single stereotype as such. It can be exhiberated only if combined with many other stereotypes, from 250 to 400 stereotypes, for example. In a moment, they can form configuration, which we call personal interpretation. But there is no a single stereotype as such, but it participates with some own part, with some interconnections in the other development scenarios. In the same way as gene, every sequence can be present simultaneously in my genome, in your genome, and in a dog's genome, and in a flea's genome, and in a cucumber genome. It realizes itself everywhere in the own way. That's why my given personal interpretation is exhiberated mostly with that behavior type, which has been formed sometime, at some previous periods of my life, a month or two before, a year ago, quite persistently. I don't understand. Probably I'm not clear. Thank you anyway. I have understood something deeper. It just always has to be put together, therefore. The focus is a gatherer of the particular energy informational interactions. When there is enough quantity of these interactions, they can manifest via a certain self-consciousness form. Besides, a particular quantity of our stereotypes is needed for our exhiberatsia as persons. Some other stereotypes quantity is needed for planetary entity exhiberatsia. Some other stereotypes quantity is needed for exhiberatsia of self-consciousness forms of the same quarks or atoms. I have understood that I choose at every instant, and indeed, I attach to nothing, neither to stereotype nor to nouveau configuration. For me, it's easy to imagine that I choose this or those energy informational fragments and form myself in this way, resonationally. But I can change it, and it's more difficult. You can change resonance, which is interest. Hence, there will be the other choices versions.